I'm going to talk more on the case through 2 practice guide related to Common Core State Standard and how this like Japanese the curriculum materials support the student to mathematics. So the Common Core State Standard, the state promised to implement in the fall of 2014. However, it's not, some of the places it's not started yet. And one of the reasons is they do not have a curriculum material. It's very difficult. So I always recommend, because you do not have a good curriculum yet, why don't you start with mathematical practice? So which you can, implement in many different ways, in using different, but just looking different in the existing textbook and then teach different ways. So that is why, the recommendation. And then, as you know, that the Common Core State Standard mathematical practice, number 1 is problem solving. So the problem solving is a big emphasis, and which is not new. And since 80s, NCTM released an agenda for action in 1980s. They said 80s should be the decade for problem solving. So by the way, what is the definition of problem solving? It's not just simply solving problems. So the NCTM standards, the problem solving means engaging in a task for which the solution is not known in advance. That means if students knew how to solve the similar problem, we do not call problem solving. We have a different name for it. Do you know how we call it? That's called exercise. There's a subtle difference between exercise and problem solving. So that we should be able to, we encourage students to attack problem which students have never seen before by themselves. And then students can use their prior knowledge to solve this problem. That is a problem solving. And sometimes we discourage, for example, like many students said, teacher, I have not learned this problem. Tell me what I should do. Well, that is evidence of the lack of problem solving skill, right? So we don't want to have such kind of student. Even we give the problem student never seen before, students say, I can do this. And then solve. That is perseverance. Right? So which is a big issue because it's not so common in the United States, even though that was emphasized since 1980s. The good problems give students a chance to solidify and extend their knowledge and then stimulate new learnings. Most mathematical concepts can be introduced through problem-based or familiar experience coming from the student lives to a standard. This is a quote from the, the NCTM standard. So what this means is you want to give problem which students never seen before everyday lesson in the everyday mathematics, right? And then through this process, they struggle, productive struggle, which is kind of buzzword everybody talking about nowadays. Through the struggle, the students should be able to learn something new. That means just solving a problem is not the goal. Finding answer is not the goal. By finding solution, by finding answer, you want to learn something new. So the teacher's job is to give a challenging problem for students, not too difficult, not too easy, right amount of challengingness. Then let them struggle, and then bring this struggle to help students learn something new. In order to do so, students need to develop a range of strategy for solving problems, such as using diagram, looking for patterns, and the special, that strategy is very important. Strategy, students have a strategy, you could solve it. And moreover, the students should have multiple strategies, wide variety of strategies. Why? If one approach, strategy doesn't work, you don't want to give up. The mathematics is teach a way of thinking. If you teach more, if you teach for test, you never get more than tested, more than you studied, right? Of course, you can teach more and you can get more, but it's kind of cramming. However, if teach fewer, but student can more, that is something we want. That is common core. The common core is fewer topics, right? And then spend more time and really understand so that you can be ready for wide variety of problems, which including something they have never seen before.